Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV and Radio, where wisdom meets experience. Join a dynamic lineup of thought leaders, professionals, and changemakers from around the world. Dr. Madeline Chan from the UK, Mariska Dupreya from Australia, Red O'Loughlin from Texas, USA, Carolyn Heward from the UK, Zunette Lub from Cape Town, South Africa, as they share expert insights, personal journeys, and impactful strategies for success. Talking Heads isn't just a show, it's a global stage for education, collaboration, and inspiration. So elevate your knowledge, expand your perspective, engage in conversations that matter. Streaming globally, empowering locally, this is Talking Heads, only on USA Global TV and Radio.
Howdy y'all, Red O'Loughlin here. Talking Heads today is taking a little bit different tangent, so to speak. Normally I talk about health and wellness. Last week I talked about travel, particularly the Camino de Santiago. Today, I'm going to be talking about how do you write a book, and particularly how do you write it in 7 days. And let me go ahead and load up my slides and we'll get ready to go. There we go. So how to write a book in 7 days. I'm going to go into a lot of detail. Yes, it's possible for some kinds of books, not for every kind of book. And the show is not a podcast yet. It will end up as a podcast at some point in time. But it's a live streaming TV show. It's on Amazon Fire, Zizzle TV, E360 TV. A couple channels on YouTube, Android TV, Apple TV. My social media, I have it simulcasting. I think today it's even on Instagram. But the whole program is set up for awareness and education, and that's what we're going to be doing. Most of my information can be found on my website, redolaughlin.com. That's red like the color, my red hair. Red O'Loughlin, OLAUGHLIN. So it's redolaughlin.com, and you can find all of my social media, contact information, my books, all that information is there. So on the basis of USA Global TV, go to YouTube, go to USA Global TV, and in there you can find streams for live shows. The archives are there, and I have some archives myself on my website. When I'm not hosting TV shows, I research. I do a lot of research on the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat symptoms, and you'll always be treating symptoms, but sometimes the cause can get worse. I fell in love with chemistry in high school. I got a degree in it, one of 5 total academic degrees I have, a bunch of professional certifications. I was in the Navy for a little over 31 years, retired as a Navy captain. Aviator, flew for 14 years, been to 62 countries. My wife and I, this is August, last month we were married 57 years. We have 2 kids, 3 grandkids, 1 great-grandson, now a year and a half old. Best-selling author, several books, independent publisher, probably almost 50 books for other authors. Distinguished Toastmaster, written over 1,000 original content articles on LinkedIn. And again, the information for today is educational and awareness. Last year, 2024, as a host on USA Global TV and Radio Network, I was number 2 and number 4 for my programs. And this year, the first 6 months, I was very fortunate and it was number in the number one spot for the first 6 months. Okay, so how do I write a book in 7 days? Let's talk about writing and books and things. I wrote a book, and this one actually I did write in less than 7 days. The Essential New Author's Guide. And it was a fairly easy one to write. I wanted to make sure, can I get it done? And I did. So why do people write books? Well, most of the time they want to share an idea. They want to teach something. Some people want to leave a legacy. I think a lot of business people, they boost their credibility if they're introduced as an author and the topic they're speaking in is the same topic that the book is. Like, in other words, the owner of the USA Global TV and Radio Network is Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and she's the chief listening officer. And she has several books that she has written about listening. And so that makes her not only a credible expert in that field because she has a book, but she has several books in that. And she also conducts training and everything else. So boosting credibility by having a book is I'm going to say a very high plus for a lot of business people. Sometimes we write books to raise awareness. Personal growth is just one of those things that we need to do, our self-actualization. Sometimes we can create opportunities. My book tells you how to do this, buy it, and you can get rich. Sometimes we entertain, influence. A lot of us want to make money. And it's okay, I'm going to write a book and make money. Well, that's kind of a myth. I think that 99%, probably higher than that, don't make the money that they think that they should be making. Some people, they just want a deeper understanding of themselves. And when they're forced to write, they kind of go deep in. And so that's another reason. But there's lots and lots of reasons. I think one thing I saw a while back that 85, 90% of people at some point in time in their life said, yeah, I'd like to be an author, or somebody says, you ought to be an author. But less than 2% of people actually become one. It's a lot of reasons why. So how long does it actually take to write a book? Well, if I look at the general world out there, and I did several searches, it says first draft about 4 to 8 months, and that's probably not far off. To write a book about 6 to 12 months, and I think most of the people that I've hosted on the Corner Bookstore and on the Wise Ones, I think their first book, 10, 12, 15 years in the making. The last book that they wrote, less than a year. So as you become more experienced, the writing speed increases significantly and the ease of writing also happens. But it also depends on the book length, the genre. What is your writing speed? What is your discipline? How much research is required? If you're going to be writing a book on 15th century European conflict, that might require a lot more research than if you're just writing on how to decorate a cake or how to how to train dogs. There's a lot of different ways we can do. So research required is dependent on what are you writing on. And again, do you already have a degree in that field? Do you already understand it well enough? Are you speaking on it? Anyway, so research will also have a factor on the time. How much editing? Well, today we're just talking about how to write the book. Yes, I'm going to be getting into some editing because I want that book almost nearly ready to go to press. So just writing it is one thing, because I can write a book in a month, but it may take me 6 months to edit it. Well, what did I gain? I still have a book in 6 to 12 months, but the editing is the thing that took all the time. But we'll talk about that. And revisions, getting those put in there, whether they're your revisions or someone else's revisions. And how much time do you have available? What's the expected length? If I pick up a book, I like a book that's about 800 or more pages. That to me is something nice and thick. I can feel it. It feels good in my hands. I'm not a digital person that I pick up my phone or something else and read off of digital. That's not my way of doing things. But mystery books, generally somewhere in that 90,000 words, 360 pages. Action, just a little bit more than that. Sci-fi, a little bit more than that even. Horror, again, a little bit more. You get down to fantasy. Again, an incremental increase. Historical fiction, you're right in that same general area. Contemporary fiction, maybe a little bit less, 96,000 words, 380 pages. But you get to your how-to book. How do I do this? How do I accomplish whatever? That is a sweet spot because most of us are experts on certain things. How do I cook a souffle? How do I train my dog to whatever it may happen to be? We have a lot of things that we're really good at. Some of us are speakers, and we want to have a book that talks about the topics that we speak about. And so the how-to books, I think, are probably the easiest ones to get out there. But if you want something easy to say you're an author, you can write an ebook, 4 pages, boom, publish it. You're an author. It's a published book. It's an ebook. But a lot of ebooks are generally a lot more than 4 pages. A novel, again, now you're talking a different kind of genre, well over 300 pages. But now you're looking at the, what time frame is it in? What is the plot? What is the twist? Who are the characters? How is all that developed? How do you introduce each of those? Lots and lots and lots of developmental work, so that if you're writing a novel, a sci-fi, a romance, there's a lot of things in there that maybe sometimes you need a developmental editor to help you make sure everything is done right. Even in how-to books, a short one, 125 pages. When I started getting in this thing several years ago, I was told 140 pages. That's what you need to shoot for, and that's a book that somebody can read literally on an airplane flight going from point A to point B. So you get a book that they can buy in the airport, boom, they finish it. But average length, 200 pages long, 300. Business nonfiction, again, that 140 to 200 pages. Memoirs, I had one that I did for a guy that was 778 pages. We got it down to 442. But the question is, if I have a 450-page book, maybe it needs to be 2 books. If I have a 300-page book, can I make that into 2 or 3 other books? Just because I have 300 pages, maybe that aspect can be 125 pages and really cover that subject well. So just because I can write 300 pages doesn't necessarily mean that I need to publish that book in 300 pages. So what should you write? Well, many genres out there. What do you love? What's your passion? What do you want to share? I write on health and wellness. That is my passion. I want to let people know what's happening inside the body. What can you do non-prescription wise? Because almost every prescription drug is based on some herb or plant or something that's out there in nature. And they take that and they can't, patent a food. They can't patent a plant. They can't patent something that's a natural product. So they need to change something. And when you start changing and adding things and trying to develop it from a chemical perspective, that's when you start getting side effects and a lot of the other things. I'm not saying you can't have a side effect from a natural product, but they're usually much less intense and not as extensive. What are your expectations? Am I writing the book for credibility? Great. That's probably a really good reason. Am I writing it because I want to have the satisfaction of being called a published author? Great. Absolutely a wonderful expectation. I want to make money. Well, not many authors make money. You can have an author with 50 books. If they're not making money, all they are is an author of 50 books. But you can have an author of 5 books making tons of money. So it's not the number of books, it's what does your audience want and how can you get to them? So what does your audience read? What do you read? If you're reading a lot of health, romance, science fiction, are you good enough writer to write in those areas? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But you do have a skill set. What can you bring to the table that you can offer that other people don't have? So what do people ask you about? What are your goals? Those are things to consider. So on day 0, before you put pen to paper, your finger to the keyboard, write a purpose, 1 sentence. What is your focus? Why am I doing this? And I would say tape it next to your monitor, tape it on your wall, your mirror, because as you're writing the book, sometimes we go down this path over here and then all of a sudden we're no longer in the same realm of what we were doing. So we have to come back sometimes and refocus. What am I offering the world that's not being offered right this minute? And that involves some level of competitor analysis. who's already written books in these fields? What are they covering? It's fairly easy to go onto Amazon and look at the table of contents of a book and say, yeah, I'm covering that and that and that. Well, I'm not covering those three things, but that book's not covering this aspect that I have. So you have some uniqueness that you're offering. And if you have that, that's what you can hang your hat on as to why people need to buy your book. So know who your competition is. What are their books, the videos, the websites, the courses that are out there? What is being offered and why are you doing something exactly like them or a little bit different? Know your battlefield. Start where you're the strongest. Let's say that you have 10 pages, 10 chapters, 12 chapters, and you know you're going to develop into the center of the book. And the center of the book, chapters 4, 5, 6, and 7, are where you really shine. That's where you know everything. You don't need to look anything up. You can just sit there and type. That's where you start. Start where you're the strongest. If you're in an area where you're going to be fiddling around and not comfortable, even though I have an area down the road, start down the road, and that way you have accomplishment. You have something that's already done. So you may start with chapter 5, jump to chapter 8. It doesn't matter if you have 12 chapters, you're going to get them all done anyway. Me personally, if I was telling somebody as a book coach, I want to write a book, plan on 140 pages. Look at 12 chapters. So if I'm looking at 12 chapters and each chapter has about 10 or 11 pages, I'm looking at 120 pages of some content. So what else do I have? Well, I have the title page. I got a blank page after the title page. I got a copyright, a dedication, a table of contents. Maybe at the end of the book, I have about the author. And so I have 5 or 6 or 7, 8 pages of extra stuff already. So if I have 120 pages of content and I have 8 pages of extra stuff, I'm already 128 pages without even thinking about it. So if I'm writing 10 pages per chapter, is that difficult? I don't think so. But we want to keep it simple. I like to use what I call the interview style. And I'm going to go into a lot of detail about that here. So if you outline your chapters as questions, in other words, let's say somebody's going to interview you on a TV show, and here are the questions. And those questions are whatever the question number 1 is. Do you know the answer so well you don't even have to think about it? Where did you meet your wife? When did you start playing golf? Tell me about I love to use the example. Tell me about your first car, or tell me about your favorite car. That is one that I use quite a bit as my experience. So tell me about your favorite car. Tell me about your first car. Why is it so important? So I tell you, okay, I paid $75 for it. It was this. It was in this kind of shape. I had to do these things to it, and these are the problems I had. This is the enjoyment I had. But you've got to add a little story here, there, and yonder in order to keep the interest going. So if I tell you about, this car I had, I'm driving over what used to be the high bridge in Corpus Christi. It's now not so high bridge. There's a higher one. And all of a sudden I get to the top, the car starts to shake and shimmy and all sorts of loud noise, and I'm getting rumbled. And all of a sudden I come to a screeching halt. And I notice I see one of my tires passing me going down the side of the bridge. Well, I limp down the bridge on 3 wheels and a brake drum. I find the tire. That's a story that I tell about that particular question. I could tell another one with my sister-in-law in the front seat, driving down one of the side highways in Corpus Christi, and all of a sudden, HUD comes up, and I'm driving now 60 miles an hour, and I got to get over 2 lanes, and I can't see because this hood isn't right in front of me. So I'm sticking my head out the window trying to figure out where. So there's lots of little stories out there. That may not be your story. There may be a story you heard. But the stories go as part of the chapter because they emphasize something about that chapter. So if I say 12 chapters, I need 12 questions, whatever your book is about. And with each question, I want 8 to 12 bullets and a couple stories, because each bullet could be 1 or 2 pages, depending, I don't know. And a story could be a couple paragraphs, but it gives you the basis to get 10 pages per question. Each question is a chapter. It contains the bullets because that's the order you want to talk about them in. So you're not leaving anything out. It keeps you focused. And you're really covering everything you want to. Now, in the process of either sitting down and typing this thing up, or as I prefer doing, actually have an interview. And we're going to talk a lot about that here in a minute. I already talked about the bridge story. Moving right along. So you can write your book or you can speak your book. There's just a lot of different ways out there. I prefer writing. I'm not a dictator of documents or things, but that doesn't mean I can't answer a question. You know, how did I meet my wife? Well, that's easy. What did you enjoy about the Camino de Santiago? That's super simple. Why did you get a degree in chemistry? I could spend a long time telling you about that. So there's things that we can speak about without even thinking. Those are the questions that we want to put in our book. Because if I have an interview style, I have a list of questions here in front of me, sort of. Somebody else has them. And I'm looking either into a camera or being recorded on Zoom. And now I'm speaking instead of writing. And that book is going to go a lot faster because I can talk a chapter at 300 words a minute a lot faster than I can type it at 40 words a minute. So that gives me the advantage of being able to write a book in 7 days. So if I can figure out a way to record what I'm saying and take that voice and convert it to text, and there's many ways of doing that, then I have an advantage over somebody just sitting down, pecking or handwriting or whatever it may happen to be. But there's a lot of things that are available on being able to go to YouTube. YouTube is probably the absolute best source. If you want to write a book quickly, go to YouTube. If you want to speak your book, go to YouTube. If you want to learn how to do something on publishing a book, go to YouTube. You're going to learn something there very, very easy. Microsoft Word has a dictate function that you can actually speak into your mic, and on the screen, the words are going to show up. And you can go in there and modify this thing a little bit so that it actually has punctuation. Some of the earlier ones had no periods. And if you pick up your phone and you leave a text message, hi, I'm coming home, period. I'll see you. What else? There's things you got to figure out. So there's maybe, I got to say, new paragraph, new line, period. Learn what you need to learn so that you can skip the part about actually typing everything out. So if I can do a Zoom recording and set the Zoom recording up to give me the text of everything that's being said, then I can do my interview over Zoom with my best friend back in Toronto or wherever that person may be at. And now I have a text of everything that I answered as an interview. Because if you're answering it as an interview, your whole heart's into it. But more importantly is it's an answer to a question, which means you probably need very little editing when all is said and done. And if you're talking into your cell phone and recording it, there's a lot of apps out there that will give you voice to text, much more sophisticated now than they were even just 4 or 5 years ago. I did a lot of research on YouTube just to find out, well, how do I do this? How do I add this dimension? How can I control my dictation on Zoom, or how can I control it with Microsoft Word? Use it as your guide because it has a lot of good information. Test drive before you start doing it. In other words, you set aside 7 days at the end of the month to write your book. Test drive dictating. Take a look at a couple of questions. Be comfortable at what you're doing. It doesn't mean you can't answer the question 2-3 times. Take the best recording that's there, and that's the one you want. But test the options that are going to create the text that you're going to do. Don't wait till the last minute. Okay, I'm going to start today. Write my book. Well, I didn't test that. I don't know how to do that. I take the time ahead of time and figure out what works for your psyche, for your temperament, for your discipline. Can I get up there and do 30 minutes with Joe over Zoom, get my text done, and then how about tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Joe? Can we do it again? Everything is fine. So start thinking about the content of your book. Who do you want to reach? What's special about your book? And also start thinking about how you're going to market your book. If you have a book that's going to go out to an audience, do they even know you exist? How do you start letting the world? Maybe you need, I tell people, start marketing your book the same day you start writing your book, because that now holds you accountable in many, many regards. Day 0, continue. Now you write your questions. These are the 12 questions. I tell people write 30 questions. That's why, because if you're writing 30 questions, you're going to exhaust a topic extremely well. But those 30 questions might give you 2 or 3 books, depending on how you structure those questions. But you write the questions and then you add the bullets. You put the bullets in the order that you want to talk to about. You put the stories in there where you want that story to pop up. And then as you go through, you're going to determine, am I going to type this thing out all by myself? Am I going to talk it out in front of a camera as if I'm doing this right now by myself? I don't recommend that. I think when you're talking to another person and that person can communicate back and forth with you, you can look at the body language. You know when when they're excited, you know when they're just kind of blasé. So I would suggest, even if you're just doing it on your cell phone, get somebody to help you, but talk to somebody. That to me, I think, is the advantage. Schedule and get it done. Zoom, in person, over the phone, lots of different ways of making it happen. And then commit dedicated time, just like you're going to commit to go to church on Sunday. There's a certain time frame you're going to go. You're going to commit to go to lunch during the day at work. You're going to commit to whatever that commitment is. Take it, and it should be at least an hour. I would say start with 2 30-minute segments and have a middle segment where you just get up and you walk out of the office, walk out of wherever you're at, go outside, physically get away from what you're doing. Because so long as you're there, your brain's thinking everything you're doing is right there. Physically get up and walk away. But make sure that everybody around you knows that, number one, you do not have a cell phone where you're at because you don't want distractions. You don't want people knocking on the door. You don't want any loud TV noise. You don't want the dogs barking. You want some dedicated, peaceful time. Maybe you need to go to the library. Maybe you need to go in one of those little rooms in the library carousel, whatever they call it, where you actually have time now to do what you need to do. Okay, day 1. Pick the easiest question, the one you're most comfortable with. And maybe chapter 7 and maybe chapter 1. Doesn't matter. Pick the easiest one. And so I'm going to continue down the mode of an interview style, but you could just as easily write these. So I'm going to record the answers to the questions based on the bullets. I have all the bullets written there. I know this bullet to that bullet, and all I got to do is look at the bullet, and I know instantly what I want to say. So if I said bridge lost tire, I would know exactly what story to talk about. Anyway, so that I can take and insert, make sure that the stories are appropriate for the chapter and they're at the right area there. Also take a look at, you have chapter 2. I'm finishing up chapter 1. I want to introduce chapter 2. I don't want to just have everything empty. So start figuring out, how am I going to interest people at the end of the chapter to go to the next one? I would say plan on 2 chapters on day 1. Get started. Don't edit. Just start and go. Write or record. Make some progress. Get on social media. Tell the world, hey, I'm writing a book. I'm going to write it in 7 days. I'll keep everybody advised. I remember a guy a while back did 11 or 12-day fast, and every day he was on social media talking about his fast. I thought it was neat. Tell the world what's going on. Day 2, rinse and repeat. Whatever was on day 1, except now you're going to do 3 chapters. So at the end of day 2, you're going to have 5 chapters written, not edited, but they're written. Your book's almost halfway done. People will say, well, if you know your topic well enough, you're not going to have any writer's block. But I like an approach that Hemingway has published. He says, don't end at the end. Leave it. In other words, I know how this chapter is going to end. Don't finish it. Because if you finish it, now you got to pick up the next chapter, and you may not necessarily have that one well grained. But if I know I'm going to come back here, sit down and start typing, I already know the answer to how this chapter ends. So leave at least the last couple paragraphs of a chapter open. That way, when you come back, you sit down and boom, you're going. I would also say, now that you have 5 chapters, begin your editing process. You can do a simple one, grammar checker on Microsoft Word. Google has one that's even better than Microsoft Word. ChatGPT, caution, caution, caution. Ask ChatGPT. Tell them, I'm writing a book. I need to have it edited professionally for grammar and diction and syntax and spelling and punctuation. You have to get the right question to ask, just prompt, right prompt to ask ChatGPT. They'll give you a very good answer. You copy that one and you paste it in every single time you put a chapter in there. And it's going to go through there and do exactly what you tell it to do. First time I did it, I put a chapter in. It was like 20 pages. And I said, edit. Well, I got 2 paragraphs back. It edited everything. It's very explicit. So if you're going to use ChatGPT, realize that you have to be very explicit in your prompt. But another one you can use, I get done with a chapter. I said, now proofread that chapter at 7th grade level. So now you have another way of looking at editing. But again, there's a lot of ways of doing it. Just understand what the risks are. Day 3, 3 more chapters. Now you have 8 done out of 12. And don't worry about the length. You were only concerned about getting content. Maybe you only have 110 pages in your book. Maybe you have 180. It doesn't matter. You're writing a book. Okay, now is a good time. Are you still focused on, you have that little piece of paper that you wrote on day 0. What's my focus? Am I writing my book and keeping in focus? If I am, great. If I'm not, what do I need to adjust? My Zoom videos can be used in YouTube. Maybe I want to take a little snippet of something, put that in as part of a marketing plan. So I ought to be thinking about, what have I done with my book that I can market, that I can put on social media? Maybe here's 3 points in chapter 3 that I want to share with people on LinkedIn and Instagram. Start marketing your book. There's no reason to wait. Day 4, complete the last 4 chapters. Now the book is done. 4 days, you've actually written everything and you started to edit half of it. Now is a good time to take everything that you've edited and start letting other people look at it. Do you have beta readers? Do you have somebody in the family, friend, a coworker, somebody who can actually take eyes and read it totally detached from you? I would not worry about any photographs, diagrams, illustrations, tables. They're not needed in your first book. Now, if you're doing a memoir and you want to come back and update it down the road with things, fine. But the purpose of this book is not to figure out, I want this picture here, but it doesn't look good. You're worrying about things you don't need to worry about. So leave them out. You have plenty of time later on to come out with a second version of the book or a version of the book that has that stuff in it. Talk about it, don't show it. Again, maybe you might want to put it into your next book. A lot longer typically to edit than to write. One of the functions I love to use on Microsoft Word is use read aloud. So wherever I'm doing a spell checker, 1 or 2 little tabs over, it says read aloud. And all I do is I hit that one and I watch the yellow brick road, the little thing going under each word as a computer is speaking to me. My brain has already memorized what I wrote, even though I'm reading it, I'm not hearing it. But now if I'm reading it and hearing it at the same time, I'm probably going to catch something that I wouldn't normally catch. And I find that to be an extremely important way of editing a book. Day 5, again, refocus on, am I delivering on what I originally intended to do? That was my promise that I wanted to write this book for. Am I doing that? If I need to clarify something in there because, well, I kind of went off on a tangent that way, but it was important. That needs to be in here. Well, maybe you go back there and you begin telling people, why am I adding this little extra section? So this is where the clarifications come in. And again, now you start beginning your editing again, because editing is going to be something you're going to be doing all the time. And that read aloud function, I think, is probably one of the best things out there. Pick out little snippets again. You should be marketing your book on the same day that you're writing the book. If you have beta readers that you can send copies to, I used to have parties here at the house. We'd come by, 6, 7 people, a couple of nights, and have desserts, wine, and 30 minutes of socializing, and then give everybody random chapters, a red pen, and a chapter. And if you don't understand something, circle it, because I write technically and I want to make sure that people can read. So having an editing party might be a way of doing it. Remember, if somebody gives you feedback, if it's a spelling error, fine. If it's a grammar error, fine. But if it's something about what you said, it's your intellectual property, not theirs. You have to weigh, is that really what I want to say? If it is, great. If they have a good point, yeah, I recognize their point, but that's not what I want to say in my book. Day 6, need to start thinking about the genres, the categories, the key words that your book is going to be represented in. If you've done a good competitor analysis on the front end, you'll know what genres, what categories other ones are in, what keywords they've used. You also need to start thinking about a description for the book. This is 1 or 2 or 3 paragraphs that will actually be in Amazon. On the back, it's going to be about 3, maybe 4 sentences. When you use AI, artificial intelligence, to sanitize your book, to edit it, you may need to come back and add some human touches to it, because sometimes it takes editing too far. It's not your voice anymore. They've cleaned up the grammar in so many places that that's not the way I speak. Go back in and make it the way you speak. Look at the spelling and the punctuation and stuff. Because sometimes, even though it's wrong, it's the way you speak. It's the way you say things. Proofread. I use the read aloud on Microsoft Word. Our brains play tricks on us, even though we know we wanted to say that. That's not what's actually written there. But that's what we're reading because that's what we wanted to say. So are we seeing and hearing the same thing? What else can help you? Who else can help you tell the world? So now you start looking for who can help. Let me give a copy of this book to Joe. Can he, put it on his social media? We need to start looking at this thing in many, many regards. I'm almost at that point that I need a cover. Not quite there yet, but just about. But Fiverr.com can generally give me a cover for around $40, both the ebook and the paperback. Can you write a novel literally in a week? Oh, maybe. Can you write a novel? Not a book, a novel. Maybe if you're really good and you've done it enough, but mostly no, probably not. There's too much involved. Can I write a how-to book in a week? Yeah, I'm pretty certain I can. I've done it. There's no reason if I spend a little bit of forethought on how I'm going to do it, if I do it verbally rather than figures on the keypad, yeah, I can probably write a book in 7 days without a problem. How well do you know your material? The more you know it, the easier it is. 7 days to complete a near publish ready book, I think it's doable. I think it really is. The major problem is when you have too much information, where do you cull that information out? Maybe I'm at 200 pages and I still have 3 chapters to write. Well, maybe your original premise wasn't the best in the world. Maybe this really should be 2 books. I don't know. But at least you're writing, at least you're getting a lot of content on paper. And that was the whole purpose of writing the book. I think that's the last slide I have. Let me double check here. Yeah. So can you do it? Yes. I would strongly recommend an interview style. I would strongly recommend some type of recording, whether it's a video recording or an audio recording, and get that recording into a text format. So now you have it on a piece of paper that you can, makes it easier to edit. I think it does. Some people like digital editing far better than paper editing. It's what you like. But I think next week I'm going to talk about how do I get a book published in 7 days. Writing it is difficult enough. A lot of people have problems with getting the formats done and all the other aspects. It's not a difficult thing. Generally speaking, I publish now about 50 books for other people. And the biggest problem I have seems to always be the covers. So we'll talk about that next week. So I think next week is about how you publish a book within 7 days. Take care, y'all. Have a wonderful time. Catch you next week. Bye now.
Get ready to wear the brand that's changing the world of media. Introducing the official USA Global TV and Radio online store. From our TV show hosts to our incredible global guests, you asked, we delivered. Rep your appearance with pride. Whether you've been on air, hosted a show, or tuned in, we have something just for you. Visit us at usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com and start shopping today. Check back frequently. We're dropping fresh new designs all the time. showcase your role in our global community. These designs celebrate your voice, your story, your presence. It's more than just merchandise. It's a movement of hope, inspiration, education, and elevated listening. Head to usaglobaltvradiosshop.myspreadshop.com. Your spotlight awaits. USA Global TV and Radio. Elevate your style. Elevate the world.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to tracycramperkins.com. Tracy Cram Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio. Meet Red O'Loughlin, TV show host, presenter, and author.
Howdy y'all, Red O'Loughlin here. I'm a TV host on the USA Global TV and Radio Network.
Red has 3 weekly shows every Thursday.
I've been a TV host now with USA Global probably maybe just a little over 3 years. Probably, I know for sure, 250, 300 shows.
Join Red on the Corner Bookstore.
The Corner Bookstore is one where we talk to authors, publicists, publishers, editors, cover designers, anybody associated with the writing and authoring book production business. You have somebody in that area, I can help you with regard to getting your book done, getting it published, working with you on a cover. A lot of things I can help people with, and I have probably maybe published over 40 books for people so far.
Join Red on The Wise Ones.
On the Wise Ones, I'm looking for entrepreneurs, business owners, people who have wisdom, lessons learned over time that they can share with others. So please go to usaglobaltv.com, sign up, and join me there.
Book your session on usaglobaltv.com. Join Red on Talking Heads.
On Talking Heads, I take my experience. I fell in love with chemistry many years ago, got a degree in it, got an invitation to Vietnam, never practiced chemistry per se, but I did get a chance when my wife was going through chemo to get back into the chemical end of things. I started looking for cause and effect relationships. I had been working at a company doing cause and effect analysis on failures in the field on various products that we made. So I said, why not look at the cellular structure in the body? The chemicals are chemicals. They do certain things. So I take my knowledge of chemistry and research. I write about it. I speak about it. I have over 1,000 original content articles on LinkedIn, most of them dealing with some aspect of health or wellness. I speak on that topic quite often, and the Talking Head show is one that I concentrate my knowledge of health and wellness on in order to help people.
Red is a distinguished Toastmaster.
As a distinguished Toastmaster, I help people get their speeches developed. The presentation is something that I critique all the time with Toastmasters. It's one of those skills that I have. I can easily help you on that one. So from the position of writing, publishing, book coach, speaking, and being a keynote speaker at an event or virtually, depending on how things work out. But those are the things that I can help people with. And I have 3 shows every week here on the USA Global TV and Network. And please join me when you can. Appreciate it. Bye now.
Here are some of the books that Red has written and published. Contact Red at redolaflin.com.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.